Hey friends! Choosing the right diaper for your baby can be a really tough decision. I thoroughly tested 16 different popular brands of diapers. I gave them a score for price, absorbency, dryness to the touch, and overall materials and features. And then I averaged them together to give it an overall score. These brands are in no particular order, except I do want to talk about Coterie diapers first. I want to start with that one because a lot of places on the internet you'll hear about Coterie as being the best diaper there is. And I want to start with that one so we can compare other ones to Coterie. Coterie is a little bit different in that it is difficult to buy just one package of diapers through their website. They're wanting you to sign up for a giant box per month and a subscription plan. Pretty much the only place you can buy a single package is at Whole Foods. Coterie is total chlorine free and EWG verified, and that just means that it meets the high standards that EWG has for the health and safety of products. So let's take a look at the Coterie diaper. It is very soft, and that is one of the things that a lot of people like about it. It is very soft compared to most other diapers. But I was a little bit disappointed in its lack of stretchiness in the waistband. There's really not a lot of give here. And the tabs are nice quality, but also not very stretchy. It does have a soft feel on the inside, but it's not really my favorite. Also, it does not have any sort of poop catcher in the back or in the front. It does have really nice ruffles on the side. I do like the quality of the ruffles. In the absorbency test, it did do very well. It was one of the most absorbent diapers, so I understand why people like it for that. In the dryness test though, it did feel somewhat wet to the touch, and it did leave some liquid on the paper towel when I tried touching it after a minute. Also, when I measured the size of the diaper, I was surprised that Coterie is a little bit smaller than other diapers. One reason that matters is because when you need to move up to the next size earlier, it's going to cost you more money because a size 2 diaper is more expensive per diaper than a size 1. So if you can stay in the smaller size longer, it can save you a little bit of money. And since Coterie is already the most expensive diaper I looked at, the fact that it runs smaller makes it even more expensive. So for the scores for Coterie, I gave it a 1 for price, absorbency 4, 3 for dryness, and a 2 for materials. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 overall. Next, let's take a look at Bum Bum. Bum Bum is a Target exclusive and is a fairly reasonably priced diaper. When you look at the Bum Bum diaper, it's very soft, and I like that the waistband is nice and stretchy in the back, and it has these nice wide tabs. The ruffles are also nice and wide, and I like the liner on the Bum Bum. It has a nice pattern and it feels really nice. Bum Bum is also lacking the poop catchers that some brands have. As for size, Bum Bum does measure larger than average compared to other diapers, would make it less expensive over time. And speaking of its size, some people did complain about the width of Bum Bum. They are rather wide, and so if your baby is smaller, it might not fit so well. Fit on diapers is so personal. You will find people talking about every single brand of diaper saying it's the worst fit, it leaks all the time, or it's the best fit and it doesn't leak. I was really pleasantly surprised with Bum Bum. For price, I gave it a 4. Absorbency, it got a 4. Dryness, it got a 4 because it did really well. It was almost completely dry when I touched it. And I gave it a 4 for materials. So it got a 4 out of 5 overall. Next, let's take a look at Freestyle. Like Coterie, it is total chlorine free and it is EWG verified. And when I started reading reviews on what people thought about Freestyle online, there were a lot of people that said they liked it better than Coterie. And I was surprised because it's much less expensive than Coterie and it's available at places like Target, so not nearly as hard to get. And when you look at the diaper, you can see it's a nice plain white style, and the material is so soft. I really love how it feels on the inside and on the outside. The liner has a nice bumpy texture that feels very cottony, and I like that the waistband is nice and stretchy. And look how big these tabs are to wrap around. I do wish it had a poop catcher in the back. It does not have that. But look how big these ruffles are on the side. I like that the shape really curves around the baby with this one. Freestyle was also the most absorbent on my absorbency test, and it is the only one that scored a perfect 5 on my dryness test. Overall, I gave it a score of 3 out of 5 on price, 5 out of 5 for absorbency, 5 out of 5 for dryness, and 5 out of 5 for materials. So it got an overall score of 5. Next up, let's take a look at Healthy Baby. Healthy Baby is also total chlorine free and EWG certified. They like to talk about how their outer layer is 15% organic cotton, but I do think that contributed to the fact that it was less dry. The outer layer would stay wet when it got a little bit wet. Healthy Baby also scored pretty low on my absorbency test. It just didn't hold that much liquid. It does have a very thin feeling, and I'm just not really a fan of the way it feels. It does have a nice big poop catcher, and that can be really helpful with newborns. The ruffles on the side are pretty nice too. Considering the high price of Healthy Baby, I was not very impressed. I gave it a price score of 1, absorbency score of 2, dryness a 3, and materials, I gave it a 3. So the overall score for Healthy Baby, I gave it a 2. I think there are a lot better options out there. Next up, we'll look at Honest. One of the fun things about Honest is they do come in a variety of patterns. You actually get to choose which patterns you want to buy. I got a panda pattern. I do like the pattern, but the overall feel of the diaper is not very nice in my opinion. It feels kind of crunchy. It does have a somewhat stretchy waistband, and it does have a pretty big poop catcher, which is nice. The ruffles are pretty nice on the side too. The liner is okay, but feels not as soft as a lot of other brands. For absorbency, it was the lowest score of any diaper. I was shocked at how little liquid it could hold. And that seemed to back up a lot of reviews I was reading of people saying they just didn't hold very much. Its dryness was just average. It was a little bit wet when I touched it. So even though Honest had some really cute prints, I did not give it very good scores. It got a 3 for price, a 1 for absorbency, 3 for dryness, and a 1 for materials. That gave it an average score of 2. Now we're going to take a look at 3 types of Huggies. We'll look at Huggies Snug and Dry, Huggies Little Snugglers, and Huggies Skin Essentials. I have a whole video talking about the differences between the different types of Huggies, but all Huggies have some things in common. They all have at least a poop catcher in the back, they're all unscented, and they all are very stretchy and baby shaped, I guess you'd say. So first let's look at the Little Snugglers, which is kind of the standard Huggies. Inside you'll see that it has a bumpy liner that is only in the smaller sizes. It has that bumpy liner. It has a nice poop catcher in the back as well as in the front. And it also has a really nice ruffles and a lot of stretchiness. And it has nice tabs on the side. Little Snugglers also have the Winnie the Pooh design. Huggies Skin Essentials is a little bit more expensive and a little bit fancier. They do have this liner that has sort of a mesh on it, and the waistband is a little bit more gathered and stretchy. They also have a poop catcher in the back, but they do not have one in the front. And they have a subtle Disney design. Then we'll take a look at the Snug and Dry. The Snug and Dry is Huggies' value brand, and they have a cute Disney design on them. They're a little bit less stretchy, and they have a little bit smaller poop catcher, but they do have the nice ruffles, and they do have a smooth liner. They don't have the mesh liner or the bumpy liner like the other ones. As far as the performance, the 3 of these actually had pretty similar absorbency amounts, but the dryness did differ a little bit, I think because of the different liners. The Little Snugglers actually did the best on dryness, followed by the Skin Essentials, and then the Snug and Dry did the worst on my dryness test. And the prices, the Skin Essentials was the most expensive, followed by the Little Snugglers, and the cheapest was the Snug and Dry. And during my absorbency test, the Snug and Dry did bust open a little bit. Some of the absorbent beads started leaking out. Because the differences were kind of small between the 3 Huggies, they actually all ended up scoring a 3 out of 5 on my scale. Here's the scores for Skin Essentials, the scores for Little Snugglers, and the scores for Snug and Dry. Next, let's take a look at Kudos. They are total chlorine free, and they like to advertise that they have a cotton lined liner, so no plastic is touching the baby. The problem with this cotton liner is when I test it for dryness, it stays very wet. Also, in my total absorbency test, it did absorb a lot of water, but it busted wide open. And I think it's that cotton, when it got fully wet, it broke open. This could be a serious mess if you accidentally put one of these in the washing machine or the kid gets in a pool. It does feel fairly soft though, and I do like the waistband on the Kudos. And look at these really big tabs it has on the side. And it also has really nice wide ruffles on the sides. There are no poop catchers on this one. I did see a lot of comments online that Kudos just changed its design in spring of 2026. And I don't know for sure which design I got, if I got the older one or the newer one. But regardless, I was not terribly impressed considering how expensive this diaper is. So Kudos got a 2 for price and a 4 for absorbency, but remember they did bust open. And I got a 2 for dryness, a 2 for materials. So I gave it a score of 2 out of 5 overall. Next up, let's take a look at 3 types of Pampers and Loves. I put Loves together with Pampers because they are made by the same company and they share a lot of similar features. I do have a separate video that goes into a lot more detail about the different types of Pampers and Loves and what makes them different. So do check that out if you want more detail, but I'll go through how these performed on my tests here. With Pampers, their Swathers is their most common one. And then their valued line is Baby Dry. Amore is Pampers' new luxury line. It replaced Pampers Pure. And then Loves is made by Pampers, and it is sort of their separate bargain variety. So first, this is what the Swathers looks like. It has little animal designs on it. On the inside, it does have this mesh liner, and it has a nice stretchy back, and it does have a poop catcher in the back. The Swathers also come with a umbilical cutout in the smaller sizes, and they feel very soft overall, and they have nice ruffles on the side. The Baby Dry definitely feels a little thinner and stiffer, and you see there's no poop catcher in the back. They're a little bit less stretchy, and they don't have a liner. It's just this green-blue color on the inside. They do still have the nice ruffles though. The Amore definitely feels more luxurious. It's so soft. I love the feeling of it. The lining on the Amore is the same as the Swaddlers. The waistband is a little bit thicker and stretchier, and it has a really nice poop catcher here. And the ruffles are a little bit bigger and stretchier on the Amore. I do like its very subtle design. When you look at the Loves, you can see how very similar it is to Baby Dry. It does have less elastic in the waist though, but it has similar ruffles and it has the exact same liner as the Baby Dry, but this is more blue and that one's more green. It's also just a little thinner overall feeling. And of course, it's got bluey on it. Looking at the absorbency scores, the 3 Pampers scored pretty close, but the Amore was better than the other 2. And then the Love score was lower on the absorbency. Surprisingly, the ones with the liner, the Pampers Swaddlers and the Pampers Amore, did not do well on the dryness test. That liner just stayed kind of wet, and when I touched it, I could still feel wetness in the liner. The Baby Dry and the Loves actually scored higher on the dryness. One other thing to note about Pampers is they do have a scent to them. The only one that's unscented is Amore. The Swaddlers has a pretty light scent. The Baby Dry has a little bit stronger scent, and the Loves has a super strong scent. I cannot stand being in the same room with an open package of Loves. That's how bad it is. Pampers Swaddlers, it got a 3 for price, a 3 for absorbency, a 2 for dryness, a 3 for materials, and a 3 overall. The Amore got a 3 for price, a 3 for absorbency, 2 for dryness, 5 for materials, and a 3 overall. The Pampers Baby Dry got a 4 for price, 3 for absorbency, 3 for dryness, a 2 for materials, which gave them a 3 overall. And then Loves, I gave a price score of 5, absorbency 2, dryness 3, and a 1 for materials. So I gave it an overall score of 3. Next, let's talk about Millie Moon. These seem to have a lot of fans on the internet. Unfortunately, there was a recent change in formula for these diapers, and there are some babies having some rash problems with these. But for the most part, people seem to really like Millie Moon. They are originally a Target exclusive, but now they're sold at Walmart and Amazon as well. I like that they have a really cute design on them, and they're very, very soft. Soft on the outside, and they have a very soft inside liner. And I like that they're nice and stretchy on the waistband, and it comes up nice and high. They also have nice big tabs, and I really like the ruffles on the side. They go out nice and far. They do not have a poop catcher in them. On my absorbency test, they held a decent amount, but unfortunately they did bust open really bad. This is probably not something that's going to happen a lot, but if it did, it's going to cause a real mess. On my dryness test, they also didn't do very well. They still felt kind of wet. I was a little disappointed on the testing results with Millie Moon because just by looking at them and touching them, I really thought they were going to be one of my favorites. I scored Millie Moon a 4 for price, 3 for absorbency, 2 for dryness, and a 4 for materials. I gave them a score of 3 overall. Next, let's take a look at Parasol. They're total chlorine free, and they've got a lot of fans on the internet. I really like that they have such subtle designs. They're very pretty to look at, and they're super soft to feel. On the inside, they have a nice waistband, and look how wide these tabs and sides are. And they have very nice ruffles. I like the feel of this liner too. They don't have any poop catchers. I saw a lot of similarities between Parasol and Freestyle. They both did really well on my absorbency tests and the dryness test. I was really impressed with the performance and the look and feel of Parasol. I gave them a price score of 3, absorbency 4, dryness 5, materials 5, and that gave them an overall score of 4. Next, we're going to take a look at Rascals. Rascals is a Walmart exclusive, but it is meant to be a competitor to the other fancier diaper brands. It was one of the least expensive diapers I looked at. It's similar in price to Love's. When I tested it for absorbency, it did absorb a decent amount, but it blew open, and its dryness score was also not very good. It stayed pretty wet. It does have a nice look and feel to it though. It does feel soft, and it does have a nice soft liner and a pretty stretchy waistband and nice tabs. Based on how it looked, I was really hoping it was going to perform better than it did. Rascals, I gave a price score of 5, absorbency 3, dryness 2, and materials 3. So I gave it an overall score of 3. Okay, that is a lot of diapers and a lot of information. So which one should you choose? Well, it really depends on what you're looking for. I think if price were not too much of a consideration and you just wanted the highest quality, the best diaper that you could get, I would choose either Freestyle or Parasol. They both performed very well on all of my tests, and they both are just very high quality and nice. Of the two of these right now, Freestyle is a little bit more absorbent and a little bit less expensive. So Freestyle would be my #1 winner if price is not a big consideration. If you're on a little bit tighter budget, Bum Bum was a really high performing one for a pretty good price. And I've heard that there are really good sales on Bum Bum, so I think it could be really affordable and really high quality. I would also recommend the Huggies Snug and Dry or the Pampers Baby Dry. These are the value brands of Huggies and Pampers, and the great thing about these is you can use the sales and coupons for Pampers and Huggies, but for the lower priced diapers. So oftentimes these are really affordable, and you get a nice quality diaper. They don't perform quite as well as the higher end ones, but definitely well enough for daytime use. Speaking of daytime use, if you're trying to be on a budget, that is a strategy that a lot of people use. They'll buy a maybe generic diaper or the Snug and Dry for daytime, and then use a higher quality, more expensive diaper only for nighttime. There are special overnight diapers, but sometimes if you just go for a higher end diaper, it's more absorbent and that'll last you through the night. When you're changing your baby frequently in the daytime, you're probably not going to max out their absorbency, so that doesn't matter nearly as much in the daytime. I also wanted to point out that fit is so unique to babies. And I talked about in my Huggies and Pampers videos that a lot of people say Pampers is best for skinny babies and Huggies is best for rounder babies. And that's because Huggies is a little bit more contoured shaped and Pampers is a little more straight shaped. My babies were kind of tall and skinny, so Pampers did fit them a little bit better. If you're having leaks and blowouts, a lot of times that can just be because the diaper doesn't fit your baby very well. And which one is going to be the best fit for your baby? You kind of just have to try a few brands. As far as those Coterie diapers, I definitely don't think they're worth the money. There are so many better options out there for a lot less. I would love to hear more in the comments down below about what worked for your baby. And do you agree with my testing on which ones are more absorbent than others?